I talked about Alex Jones recently, basically having his studio shut down, if you guys remember. And he was standing there like in the dark. The lights are off and everything. And he's trying to make them like walk him out, basically, the police. He just cannot accept that he's lost everything because of the Sandy Hook families. Now, I've already talked about it, so I'm not going to go into detail, but there's an update. Alex Jones, as this article is titled, Demon Ghoul Alex Jones sues Sandy Hook parents. He's suing the Sandy Hook parents, okay? Again, not going to go through all of this if you're unfamiliar, but just a bottom line. There was a massacre in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, in the schools. A terrible attack. Lots of young children died. 6 years old, I think, some of them. Alex Jones claimed that it was a hoax perpetuated by the Democrats so they could ban guns, basically. And he quadrupled down on it. He doxed the parents of these children that died in this attack. Well, he had a guy on his show that doxed them. InfoWars doxed them, I guess. And so it got to the point where one of them checked out. He checked out because of what Alex Jones was doing. In my opinion, that warrants criminal charges. But he wasn't charged criminally. He was sued for defamation and some other things. And in the trial, he admitted privately to the families, handed one of them a note that said, I'm so sorry. Basically, I know you're real and I want to help. What can I do to help? The woman basically said, go f yourself. You made one of us check out. And we've had to move multiple times because we've been harassed and doxxed constantly by your stupid audience. So anyway, after losing a judgment, basically, in Texas against the families, I'm not exactly sure how this, maybe it was another group of people. Wait, what was the Texas case? Yeah, so Texas, there's a Texas case, a state-level case, brought against him, I think because he lives in Texas, brought against him by the Sandy Hook parents. Now, there's like a cap for how much you can pay in punitive damages and so on, but the bottom line is, in one of his cases, he didn't even show up to court, which means default judgment. That means the other party wins by default. They automatically win. And default judgments cannot be appealed. The system doesn't want people to try to delay the results by just not showing up and rescheduling. Generally speaking, the court system here tries to make things more efficient and quick and make sure everybody is charged fairly and all of that other stuff much quicker than many other like court systems, many other countries. So anyway, he had a default judgment of $1.5 billion. He had $1.5 billion judgment, and that's going to follow him for the rest of his life. He cannot get out of that, period. No appeals, no nothing. So they start to liquidate his assets, and they're giving it to the Sandy Hook families and stuff. Back in April or May 2024, this clip happens. He's sitting on a show, and he says this.
Transmission.
Hold on.
We have to stay here. We have to let them shut us down. We have to stand all the way to the end, and we're going to win.
Jones, I think everybody needs a war cry, man. Can you muster a war cry?
It's a big joke.
It's not really, though. I mean, it is, but it isn't. It's also inspiring.
My voice will completely go, but it's fine.
My voice will go completely go, but it's fine, I think he said.
It's my resistance to them. It's a God's transmission. It's a human under attack.
It's a God transmission. It's a human under attack. What?
It's a human under attack.
All right, let's go to one more speaker. Let's go to Myron.
Okay. Anyway, that's what happened to Alex Jones. Again, we're going to read this article about it in a second where he's suing the Sandy Hook parents. I just want to take a look at this one more video. This is from November 2024. I believe they turned the lights off at his old studio. I mean, he has a new studio that he set up under a new name and under new ownership and everything else. And the judge determined that he was allowed to keep the new setup so that he could continue earning money to pay the Sandy Hook families. So it's not like he's not going to be able to work anymore. He will. And it's not even that he's going to have to go to Rumble. He can still own his own studio. They're just, taking a large portion of it is all. Anyway, this is his last 15 minutes in his old studio here.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It is 7:50 right now. I'm about to upload this to X. I just got word 15 minutes ago that my lawyers and folks met with the U.S. trustee over our bankruptcy this morning, and they said they're shutting us down even without a court order this morning.
This is so stupid. Without a court order? The court literally decided this, bro. He's going to make a whole bunch of ridiculous, stupid claims in this. Just keep listening.
The Connecticut Democrats with the Onion newspaper bought us. They asked, did they outbid? They said, well, it was competitive. So they changed all the bidding rules, made it secret 2 days.
This is just bullshit. And Connecticut Democrats? What do Democrats have to do with anything? This is people that you defamed, that a jury of your peers determined you lied about intentionally and knowingly. Do you know how hard it is to win a defamation suit in the first place? And they overcame that burden of proof. They succeeded. That means you most definitely, absolutely, for sure, lied about them knowingly to have come to this point.
Ago, I had a bad feeling. I told you that.
And in the process, made people check out. If it were up to me, this would be a criminal trial.
2 days ago, I had a bad feeling. I told you that. And just like they tried to shut us down back in late May without a court order, they're supposed to have a court order.
I know they would have succeeded it had it gone to court, but they won by default. Not just in one. They just won by default in one case. There were three cases total, I think. I don't remember. And they won in all of them, in Connecticut and in Texas. And they are state level cases. I saw earlier somebody was asking, not federal, I believe they're state. Oh, Justin won? He actually showed up in others? Yes, he did. And lost. In lawsuits, they have punitive damages and they have restitution damages. I don't remember what it's called. Basically, what you spent to counteract the damage that Alex Jones did. That's one set of payments. So retributive, maybe? I don't remember what the word is now. But like the Sandy Hook families, they had to move from house to house to house because they kept being threatened. So the costs of moving and security would be put on Alex Jones in this set of judgment or whatever. And then there's punitive, which is punishment for Alex Jones doing this. It's not paying them back for what they are owed from him. It's a deterrent from people doing this in the future. And there's a cap on punitive damages. I believe they were awarded $50 million or something in punitive damages. But in Texas, here, $49 million in punitive damages, I believe, is what they ordered. This is not the default judgment. This is the one they actually showed up for, I think. But there's a $750,000 cap on punitive damages in Texas. Apparently, the judge opted not to apply the cap, though. I didn't know they could do that. Anyway, the point is, there were multiple cases, and he lost after showing up to multiple of these places. The default judgment of $1.5 billion, that one's probably moving forward first because there are no appeals. There's no way to kind of backtrack this. It is what it is. You lost, period. The path that you can take to kind of change things or correct it is over. That's it for the default judgment. So anyway, I believe that what's happening here is for the default judgment. We haven't seen what happens for the others yet. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. Okay, let's continue.
Secret 2 days ago, I had a bad feeling. I told you that. And just like they tried to shut us down back in late May without a court order, they're supposed to have a court order. There's going to be injunctions filed.
There will not be injunctions. There is no need for a court order. You lost in a default judgment. That's just what it is, period.
I'm about to go live out of Harrison's American Journal studio. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to be here until they come in here and turn the lights off. I'm going to say, where's your court order?
They don't need a court order. This is not your property anymore. You are standing in somebody else's property. A court order is not necessary for police to show up and escort you off of somebody else's property. That's what's happening right now.
So
we all knew he lived in Fantasyland, though, right? We already knew that about him.
But I'm going to be here until they come in here and turn the lights off. I'm going to say, where's your court order? So this is all going down right now. They want to silence the American people, but we're not going to be silenced. Be sure and follow me at the Alex Jones Network at AJN Live.
That's his new system. Again, the judge allowed him to keep this system. It's not owned by him technically, but the court generally sees straight through attempts to like move properties around to prevent them from being seized. There are like forensic investigators that work for the court that follow money trails to see what you're doing with it, to try to recover it or whatever. Like Alex Jones put a lot of his assets in his parents' name and he had nothing, like practically nothing. He owed almost nothing. And the courts saw straight through it and seized it all anyway. They took InfoWars and all of it. And you know what? If they take other people's property by accident, like his parents, for example, then that's what happens. The money goes to the people that is owed to anyway, the Sandy Hook parents. So as I was saying,
at the Alex Jones Network.
So he has the Alex Jones Network, and the judge said that he's allowed to keep that, so he can keep earning for them.
Live on X right now. They're filed in court to take real Alex Jones away. That's totally unconstitutional. The judge already said no, so they filed in other courts.
Unconstitutional? Why would that be unconstitutional, I hear you asking? The answer is because he thinks it's against slavery laws. No, not against slavery laws. Don't know where you got that. Just completely fabricated out of the ether. Nobody said that you are being enslaved by doing this or whatever. He is such a victim. He literally made somebody check out, and he's the victim here. This is from The Independent. Conspiracy theorist and right-wing media personality Alex Jones sued on Monday to challenge the sale of his InfoWars platform to the parent company satirical news outlet The Onion and the families of victims of the 2012 Sandy Hook mass attack. Jones alleged in a filing in Texas bankruptcy court on Monday that conspiratorial negotiation and agreement involving his bankruptcy trustee and a flagrantly non-compliant Frankenstein bid led to the Sandy Hook families and Global Tetrahedron, the Onion's parent company, I forgot about that, winning an auction last week for the site. Yeah, Global Tetrahedron is like the evil company name that they gave to this giant conglomerate. It's just a joke. I mean, The Onion is a joke satirical website, so why not have a satirical company name, Global Tetrahedron? I love it. InfoWars went up for sale after Jones declared personal and corporate bankruptcy in 2022. He faces more than $1 billion in damages he owes to the families for defamation after claiming the Sandy Hook shooting was a hoax. Jones is filing, again, I did like another video on this subject that kind of broke the whole thing down if you want to hear all of it. I have a couple of these on my channel, so just go back and search. I might put it in the description if you're curious. I've done at least 2 videos on this subject, breaking it all down. Jones's filing on Monday alleges the winning bidders in the bankruptcy auction for InfoWars submitted an offer that only appeared more valuable than the $3.5 million bid from a company associated with his online store. He claims the Onion's bid was worth $1.75 million on its own, but managed to appear more valuable in the aggregate because the Connecticut-based Sandy Hook families agreed to forego some of the funds they'd earn from the sale. Oh, I see. Okay, I understand. Meaning a separate group of families who won a different defamation suit against Jones would receive a higher ultimate payout from the Jones estate. Okay, I understand. Global Tetrahedron hasn't publicly described the value of its bid. The Independent has contacted the Onion CEO Ben Collins for comment. Christopher R. Murray. All right, so this is what Jones is complaining about right now. The Sandy Hook families basically leveraged future earnings from Alex Jones's estate or whatever, leveraged that into basically a loan, to my understanding, which is what happens. I mean, that happens all the time. Companies do that. Loan on future earnings. That's welcome to capitalism. First time? Anyway, they leveraged that to get a higher bid, which is fine. That's how things work. And he's complaining that it was rigged as a result. So did nobody know what they were bidding? I'm wondering if it was, I knew it was a private bid, but did the bidders know what others were bidding? I'm curious. Like, did the Onion know they had the highest bid? Because I believe that Elon Musk was, or has stepped in, at least now he's stepped in. I believe Roger Stone was in the mix, throwing his hat in the ring, and a bunch of others. Here you go, right here. NBC News. Elon Musk's X Corp files notice in Alex Jones InfoWars bankruptcy case. This is on NBC. This is from November 16th. Attorneys for X Corp, which I assume is Twitter, the firm established by Elon Musk to take over Twitter, filed a notice of appearance on Thursday in the bankruptcy case of Alex Jones and his InfoWars platform. The new owners of satirical news site The Onion had been declared the successful bidders for Jones' controversial platform, alongside families of the Sandy Hook massacre victims. But this week, the Texas bankruptcy judge overhearing the case voiced concerns about the transparency of the auction process and called for a new hearing to discuss those potential issues. Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, if a judge has concerns over it, I'm totally okay with those concerns being investigated. It's like people who say you can't ask questions about the Holocaust. Yes, you can. I ask questions all the time. Wrote a book about the thing because I had so many questions. Was Hitler an atheist? I found the answers. You know what they're really doing? They're not asking questions. They're making statements veiled as questions. You know, statements like, they didn't really kill 6 million Jews, for example. That's very similar to the situation we're facing here. This judge can ask questions about the process. Alex Jones is claiming that the judge is making statements in the process of asking questions. He's claiming the judge is saying, this was shifty, this is questionable, I don't trust anything that's happening right now, you guys are trying to get one over on this poor innocent Alex Jones. That doesn't seem like the case. I'm okay with asking questions, really. Quote, nobody should feel comfortable with the results of the auction, end quote, Judge Christopher M. Lopez said. The X Corp filing dated November 14th and first reported by Mother Jones does not disclose the purpose of X's appearance, other than to state the rights reserved to it as an interested party and to request all relevant documents in the case. Interesting. So Twitter basically bid on InfoWars. And if they bid on it, then it would bail Alex Jones out, basically. I don't even know why they're bothering. Like, Alex Jones is going to continue to operate anyway. Why do they care if InfoWars itself is owned by whoever? The brand is going to follow Alex Jones. Attorneys for X listed the filing did not respond to a request for comment. A lawyer representing The Onion also did not respond to a request for comment. Both Musk and Jones are known allies for President-elect Donald Trump. Musk has allowed InfoWars to broadcast on X while InfoWars' fate is in limbo. Jones has used InfoWars as a platform to promote conspiracy theories, far-right ideologies, and misinformation. He often focuses on events and social issues to sell related products like supplements and survival gear. Yeah, I know about all that. Hold on. Yeah, we already covered all that. So let's jump back to the Independent article about Alex Jones suing the families now. All right, here. Christopher Murray, the bankruptcy trustee overseeing the sale of Jones's assets, responded to the filing on Monday, painting Jones's move as a disappointed bidder's improper attempt to influence an otherwise fair and open auction process. That doesn't surprise me. That's kind of what Alex Jones has always done. Inject suspicion and questions into otherwise transparent processes. That's kind of his MO. He's always done that. Quote, at every step, the families we represent have sought to hold Jones accountable to the fullest extent of the law and to protect others from his lies, end quote. Chris Mattei told the Wall Street Journal on Monday, quote, they will not be intimidated, they look forward to bringing this process to a just conclusion at the earliest possible date, end quote. That was lawyers for the Sandy Hook families. This continues on. A status conference is scheduled in the case for November 25th. The joint bid, this is a quote, the joint bid from Global Tetrahedron, which is The Onion, and the Connecticut families has been selected as the winning bid for InfoWars. So I guess The Onion and the families put money together is what happened to give the highest bid. And Alex Jones is challenging the fact that they put their money together. I mean, that's how this works. I don't understand what his complaint is here exactly. The sale is currently underway as part of the standard processes. The judge overseeing the case said last week no one should feel comfortable with the results of this auction. We're all going to have an evidentiary hearing, and I'm going to figure out exactly what happened, District Judge Christopher Lopez said in court during a status conference. I personally don't care who wins the auction. I care about process and transparency. Okay, fine. But it's really weird for him to have said that. I'm like super suspicious of the judge right now. Was he a Trump appointee? I mean, this is a civil matter, not a criminal matter, right? I mean, he's a bankruptcy court judge from the Southern District of Texas. He's appointed in 2019, went to the University of Houston and then Yale University, and then University of Texas School of Law. Yeah, I don't know. I just the way that it reads to me, it feels a little suspicious what this judge is up to, but we'll see what happens. We're all going to an evidentiary hearing, and I'm going to figure out exactly what happened. Jones, in his final broadcast before the original sale, claimed, quote, the deep state Gestapo, end quote, was conspiring to shut down his broadcasts. Oh my God, dude. Lawyers for X, which reinstated Jones' account on the platform in December, notified the trustees in the case they were reserving their rights regarding the sale of Jones' account on the social media site. You know, the fact that he says the deep state Gestapo is like really disgusting. My brother, when I was little, he used to say, we used to play Monopoly together all the time. And we had this tab system that we operated. We got to the point where all the properties were owned. They were all maxed out. They had like, you know, all of the hotels on everything. It was actually Star Wars Monopoly. So it was spaceports on everything. Anyway, we had a tab system where if I like didn't have the money to pay him, then he would put it on my tab. And when he rolled around to my side of the board, you know, we'd add it to his tab, and it literally like never stopped. Like the game never stopped. Anyway, my brother used to say, I'm getting to a point here, just bear with me. My brother used to say, now if you pass this, no matter what you roll, you got to hit the Gestapo over here. Because it was so like, it was like he controlled such a large area. The Gestapo, that was the first time I'd ever heard the term Gestapo before. I wrote this whole book, Was Hitler an Atheist? Give it a read if you're interested. Amazon and Audible. Also, owenmorgan.com if you want a signed copy. Anyway, I wrote about the Gestapo length in this, and it was basically like it was a Nazi organization, kind of like the FBI, that on the surface operated with the intent to protect people from terrorist attacks, just like the FBI does, you know, investigating domestic terrorists and stuff. But the Gestapo took it a step further and started like investigating anybody that was oppositional to the state at all. Anybody that said anything bad about the Nazi party or whatever, they were investigated by the Gestapo. And they created this denouncement program where anybody could denounce anybody else. They could just report them to the Gestapo, to their local police department or whatever, and the Gestapo would investigate. It became so common, it was so normalized intentionally, that students started denouncing their teacher for giving too much homework, even. Like anything that anybody would do that could even be possibly perceived as a little bit subversive in any way, shape, or form would be reported to the Gestapo. And believe it or not, they investigated every single denouncement, every single one. Even the ones for too much homework. When the Allies took Germany, they found this gigantic filing room full of 12 million denouncement records. There were about 60 million people, women, children, babies, adults, old people, everybody. 60 million or so people in Germany. And of those 60 million, about 12 million had records of a denouncement of some sort. Should give you some context for roughly how widespread the Nazi Party was. About 15% of the population was Nazi. Somewhere in the range of how big MAGA is today, I would say, in the US. Anyway, so the Gestapo would investigate every single case. They'd go to the school, they'd ask the students, you know, they'd ask the teachers who were the best students, who were the worst. They'd talk to the teacher's coworkers who was denounced. I mean, some people get up to 5 denouncements per day, teachers and everything. One teacher made a super basic joke that was just, it was kind of a self-deprecating joke about the Nazi Party. It wasn't even like a bad joke. It was just self-deprecating. That's it. And they were denounced and they lost their job. And since they couldn't work, they were sent to a camp because people that were unemployed long-term were sent to camps to act as slave labor. Anyway, that's what the Gestapo was. They tapped phones. They listened into conversations. They'd put their ear up to a cup that was pushed up against walls, and they would listen to people's personal conversations in the privacy of their own home. They would tap phones, and if somebody answered their phone, hello, rather than Heil Hitler, they would get a visit from the Gestapo. And the visits from the Gestapo weren't always to arrest you. Sometimes they were just to intimidate. Like Martin Niemöller, the leader of the opposition to the Nazis in the Protestant church, Martin Niemöller was arrested 5 or 6 different times. Well, not arrested, detained. They came to his house and picked him up between 1935 and 1937. They picked him up and kept him for a day or two. They investigated him, they questioned him, interrogated, and then they release him, and he'd go back to what he was doing, hold his church service or whatever. And that was like the end of it, until one day when it wasn't the end of it, when they picked him up for that final time and they took him to the concentration camp permanently. So anyway, the point is, the Gestapo was brutal and ugly and controlled everything and everybody. And people were afraid to go out to bars because if somebody heard them saying something that could even be perceived as oppositional to the Nazi movement, they'd be denounced by somebody else in the bar. Nazism could not be debated in public. Like, communism was also extremely brutal in Germany at the time. Evil. Just really, really bad. I mean, I don't know about modern day communism. That's a different thing. But at the time, it was bad. But in Germany, it could be debated. People could talk about it. They could hold public debates and talk about the merits of communism or whatever. For a while, anyway. And nothing would happen to them. Like, they wouldn't go to jail over it or whatever. You can't debate Nazism. And as a result, it was an incoherent ideology. It didn't really make any sense. There was no cohesive set of beliefs that fit together cleanly. If people talked negatively in any way about Nazism at a bar, they'd be denounced. And that was the fear. So what is Alex Jones really describing here exactly? He says, quote, "The deep state Gestapo is conspiring to shut down his broadcasts." Brother, if it's the Gestapo, they don't have to conspire to shut down shit. They're going to shut it down. Simple as that. They didn't need to go through these legal loopholes. They would shut it down. Anyway, he is a perpetual victim, is the point, and convinced that everybody is out to get him and him personally. And he's using words that he shouldn't be using. Like Gestapo, it is an offense to the innocent Jehovah's Witnesses and Roma, previously called Gypsies, and Jews, and hell, communists, and disabled people, mentally and otherwise. It's an offense to those people to claim the Gestapo's after you. Now, if I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you're unaware, Alex Jones would be on the side of the Gestapo. It was a right-wing populist movement, exactly like Alex Jones' movement is, in the exact same ways. Alex Jones would be on the side of the Nazis. Alex Jones's media network is not quite as bad as Der Stürmer, which means the stormer, basically. It was like a media outlet that existed, like a newspaper, a Nazi newspaper at the time that was run independently, but the Der Stürmer editor or owner or whoever it was, he was at the Nuremberg trials because of all the damage that he did. Lie about people, target them, make all kinds of insane claims. And he sparked Nazi extremism. Like he claimed, for example, that there was this thing where if a mammal mates with another mammal, then the DNA from the male mammal stays in the female mammal in perpetuity forever. And any child that the female has from that moment forward will have the DNA of the male mammal, which means if you've ever been married to a Jew, slept with a Jew, or non-Aryan specifically, or whatever, been in a relationship with one at all, you're non-Aryan and you don't deserve to live. So anyway, that is effectively what Alex Jones is. He is the editor of Der Stürmer, the modern day Der Stürmer. He spreads conspiracy theories, demonizes groups of people, backs up the right-wing extremists and spreads right-wing populism all over the place in the exact same way that Hitler did. Only difference is that he doesn't feel that it's quite socially acceptable yet to come out openly as a racist against any particular group. Like Hitler was a racist against Jews and black people and others. Alex Jones isn't openly racist against them, but he does say deeply racist things. So he isn't saying, I hate black people, for example. He's not burning crosses on people's lawns, but he's helping the people that do. He's contributing. So the point that I'm so laboriously trying to reach here is that Alex Jones is effectively on the Nazi side while claiming to be persecuted and saying the Gestapo is after him. I have to say, the news article that I first stumbled upon here, Demon Ghoul Alex Jones sues Sandy Hook parents, fair description. Fair description. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. I absolutely love talking about that time period because it's so fascinating how this cult of personality completely took over so rapidly. It was like out of nowhere, seemingly. But I feel like a lot of people don't like hearing about that time period, unfortunately. It's really sad. So I have to kind of temper how much I discuss it.